A guy that's coming off an injury-prone and actually a few injury-prone seasons in a row now, not hitting the 50-game mark since the 2021-22 NBA season, and he's definitely looking to prove that he can get back to being a reliable option, a rotation option, and can be a viable option for the Lakers next season. Unfortunately, he didn't play a single regular season game for their team, wasn't able to make it back in time, and although he did spend 5 minutes on the court in the playoffs for their team, playing 5 minutes in their Game 5 defeat to the Minnesota Timberwolves in Round 1, he hasn't played during the regular season, and therefore fans have not seen much, if very little of him at all. And well, he's looking to prove that he can be an option for their team next season, like I said too. If you kept up with him on social media or simply about the posts maybe on NBA Twitter, you've seen that Maxi Kleber has been putting in a lot of work, both on the court and off the court in the gym, definitely moving some weights around and looking pretty good himself, and even posting a video the other day of him windmill dunking, something that's not usually associated with Maxi Kleber being a great high-flying athlete, but he appears to be in some pretty damn good shape right now too. So with that in mind here, if we're finally going to get a healthy version of Maxi Kleber again, could he or will he be in the Lakers rotation, and what might he be able to offer the rotation and simply their team in general? We're talking about a 33-year-old going on 34, a guy again that's had a few injury-plagued seasons in a row now, dating back to the 2022-23 NBA season, has yet to play more than 45 games in a single season, only playing 34 during the 24-25 NBA season, only playing 43 during the 23-24 NBA season, and only playing 37 during the 22-23 NBA season, combining for a grand total of less than 120 games, and that's obviously not too good and obviously has made him a very reliable option for a team. I mean, the best ability can often be durability, staying on the court and giving your team an option for every game and every matchup, whether they need you or not, or you're the best option for that matchup. Simply being able to be healthy and on the court and giving your team a rotation option is the best ability for a role player, which unfortunately Kleber hasn't been too great at lately. So for my expectation with him and in regard to health next season, I think the guy's gotta play at least 50 games. If he's hurt by the trade deadline, then it might be time to cut bait and simply use him as an expiring contract. At that point, if he can't get right and doesn't show major health and durability improvement, then it probably is time to view him that way. However, if he is able to be a bit more healthy, only dealing with minor injuries that pretty much every player deals with throughout the long 82-game regular season, then you can definitely make an argument to keep him, and especially if he shows some good production for their team too. After all, there is a viable pathway for playing time for him, at least in my opinion. Obviously having DeAndre Ayton as their starting center, obviously having Jackson Hayes as their direct backup, and definitely a full-time center behind him, but with Kleber being able to play at both the 5 and 4 in some matchups, and that's kind of the best ability with him in my opinion. The fact they can interchange between them depending on the matchup. Against a smaller team like Golden State for example, a very good center option, a guy that's actually pretty big in that matchup, and even in general is a pretty big hybrid 4-5, being roughly 6'10", 240 to 250 pounds, not to mention being a pretty decent athlete for a hybrid 4-5. In that kind of matchup, he definitely can be a viable center option, in fact probably a better one than even Jackson Hayes, not only with the defensive ability, both being fairly switchable on defense, and that's obviously very helpful against a small ball team that obviously like Golden State likes to run around a bunch, use a bunch of pin down screens to lose defenders and make you switch on the court. Kleber having that ability is very valuable in that kind of matchup. Or then against a bigger team with a double big lineup, a team like Cleveland, Minnesota, somebody like that for example, that's when Kleber can play at more power forward. And at that point, he's not a liability at power forward. In fact, he's probably even quicker and more athletic at the 4 than his opposition. No, obviously not in every matchup. Not more athletic than in Evan Mobley for example, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying here. The fact that he can play at the 4 or 5 depending on their matchup might be more valuable at the 4 in some matchups, might be more valuable at the 5 in other matchups. That's what Kleber has to offer and the versatility that he can offer your rotation. So that's something that they don't really have outside of Kleber. They've kind of used a guy like Rui Hachimura in that role, but isn't exactly the perfect fit for it. A bit too small to play at the 5 in some matchups, and even in smaller matchups. Kleber on the other hand is a bit bigger than Hachimura, isn't obviously as good as Hachimura, not as productive offensively, maybe a little bit better defensively, or at least was at one point, but that's kind of the better fit that Kleber offers that they didn't really have prior to having Kleber, or rather having him healthy. I mean, it's not something that any of their current centers can offer, not something that DeAndre Ayton can offer, that Jackson Hayes can offer, or Christian Koloko. they can play at the 4 or 5 depending on the matchup and kind of interchange between them. So that's kind of the primary value with Maxi Kleber, what they're likely hoping to get and what I'm definitely hoping that he can offer their team. That's kind of the thing I'd point to with him. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.